Listen, the most important relationship that you will ever have is not with your friends, is not with your partner, not with your parents, but it's the one happening right now behind your eyes. Most of us spend our lives waiting for someone to tell us we are enough, and so we chase external validation to fill internal gaps, only to find out that the fix was temporary. Listen, your brain is wired to look for threats, and sometimes it decides that you are the threat, and so this creates a loop of self-doubt that can feel impossible to escape. But insecurities are just data points, and just like every other data, they can be rewritten. So by understanding the psychology of self-judgment and practicing radical self-integrity, you can move from a state of constant self-defense to a state of genuine self-devolution. So in this video, we are moving past the surface level self-care, and we are diving into the real mechanics of overcoming deep-seated insecurities, so that you can show up in the world as someone who is truly on their own team. You speak to your best friend the same way you speak to yourself in your head. You'd probably have no friends, right? Exactly. Now listen, as humans, we are often own harshest critic, always running a 24/7 commentary on our flaws and on our insecurity. And listen, I've had my own share of insecurity. Growing up, I was my biggest hater. When I mean I was my biggest hater down to the core. I grew up hating how I looked, the kind of person I was. I would always tell myself stuff like, I'm too tall, I'm too ugly, I'm too chubby, I'm too this, I'm too that. Growing up, I was never the pretty friend. I was never the friend who had stories to tell you about the number of guys asking her out. But I was a smart friend. I was the friend who, when you have a math assignment, you bring to her, she would help you solve it. I was the friend who was always studying. I was the friend who was always making straight A's in her exams. I was the friend who was always coming top of the class. I was the friend who the teacher liked because I was really, really smart. And I am still smart, by the way. But I was never the attractive one. And I wanted to be the attractive friend. I wanted to have guys come up to me and tell me, hi, I like you, be my girlfriend. I wanted stuff like that, but I never had this kind of stuff while growing up, and it really maximized my insecurity during my senior year of secondary school and also my first year of university. Then I started getting attention from guys, guys that come up and be like, hi, I like you, can you be my girlfriend? And when they come, I used to have these two thoughts. First of all, I don't even think I'm attractive, so how dare you say I'm attractive? And second of all, I don't even like myself, so how dare you like me? Boy, bounce. I wasn't believing them, because to me, I never felt pretty. To me, I never felt attractive to the point where a guy will come and tell me that they liked me. All those things felt like a joke to me. And it continued up until the past 2 years, where I started watching a couple of YouTube videos, I reading a lot, researching, and I realized that building self-love isn't about ignoring our imperfections. It's about destructuring the loops that keeps you small. Insecurities often feel like objective facts, but they are just outdated survival mechanism. And so to overcome them, you have to stop arguing with the feeling and start questioning the source through auditing your inner monologue. Now listen, for one day, I want you to treat your thoughts like a third-party observer. When your insecurity starts speaking up, I want you to ask yourself, whose voice is this? Because oftentimes the voice of insecurities are recycled comments from our parents, from our friends, from loved ones, from social media. And so I want you to audit it. And this is what I mean. Back when I was in my junior year of high school, then I had this one best friend. It was a guy who were very close. Even our teachers, they knew that we were best friends, because we'd come to school together, we'd go back home together, we'd gossip together, we'd do everything together. It was a guy, and he was a very good friend of mine. But then we had this one big fight, and then he told me something. It was like, you fat fool. I still remember that word to date, and I cried in class, because honestly, if I had heard that word from somebody else, it wouldn't even do anything to me. But the fact that I heard it from my best friend, it was ringing in my head. And so even when I grew up, I was still calling myself, yeah, you know what, I'm a fat fool. And that really elevated my insecurity. Reading this book, Emotional Intelligence, and when I mean I love it, I mean I love it. But there was a particular chapter where the author was giving an instance of this boss who wanted to criticize his employee, and so he said one kind of awful word to the guy, and the guy took it to heart for weeks. He felt sad. After a week, he went to the boss and he was like, sir, what do you mean by the statement you said? And the boss was like, what statement? Because he couldn't even remember what he said. And this is why, listen, I'm going to tell you like a bonus, be careful of what you say to people, because what you say to people stick to their head. Listen, I'm a very sensitive kind of person. Back when I was so into hating myself. If you tell me just a single word, it will stick to my brain. And that was what brought about my insecurity and also elevated my insecurities back then. Because you know what? My best friend called me a fat fool. So of course I'm fat. And so most of the time, most of the insecurities you feel, or most of the insecurities you have, or most of the things you tell yourself are actually due to what someone has told you before. And so you like elevate that, ruminate on that constantly and make that to be your reality. So this is why you need to audit your inner monologue to be able to destructure your insecurity loop. The next thing that you want to do by destructuring your insecurity loop is the worst case scenario staircase. Listen, oftentimes we loop because we are afraid of a vague looming bad thing, and so you want to destructure it by following that fear to its logical conclusion, by asking yourself every time, and then what? So let's say for instance now you have a presentation in school, and then your insecurity speaks up and it's like, you know what, I'm going to mess up this presentation, I'm going to screw up this presentation. Reply and tell yourself, and then what? Well, people might think that I'm unprepared. And then what? Well, I'll feel embarrassed for a day. And then what? Well, I'll go home, eat dinner, and then try again tomorrow. Now you see, the result is that you usually find that even the worst case is survivable, and this strips the insecurity of its life or death intensity. So always follow the worst case scenario staircase. Ask yourself, and then what? And then what? And this is what I do even today. Like when I have something to do and then I'm getting anxious or my insecurity wants to start screaming loud, I'm like, you know what, and then what? I'll do this. Will I die? I'm not going to die, even if I'm going to die, but I won't die today. So it's fine. I'm not going to die today. The third thing I want you to do to destructure your insecurity loop is the objective evidence journaling. Listen, I've been reading this book, Surrounded by Setback by Thomas Erickson. And when I say I love this author, I mean with my whole soul, because he has a very great sense of humor. And I love reading books from authors that have this sense of humor because it just gives it one kind of vibe. And I'm currently reading a different book, but as soon as I'm done, I'm going to get this one that he said is like it's a time seller. Surrounded by Idiot. I'm definitely going to get that one because this man's got a great sense of humor. But there was a particular chapter in the book where it was saying something about, I didn't die moment. It's basically you having a book where you write your wins and those moments that you thought you were going to die, but you did not die. And listen, this shit helped me. I'm not even going to lie. I'm currently a few months from being a graduate, and so I've been working on my final year project, okay? And when I started, I was so intense. Last year, October was a very, very intense month for me because I had my seminar presentation and also my seminar defense in school. So I was supposed to be before my panel of professors and doctors and defend a particular topic. And when I tell you I was anxious, I wasn't underconfident. I knew that I could do it. And you guys, I studied. I read and read and read and studied and studied and studied. And at the end of the day, it was perfect. I'm not exaggerating, but it was so good. And so I wrote it down in my journal, like my hashtag I didn't die moment. I was scared of my seminar presentation, but it went really well. When I started my project writing, I was so scared, like, what am I going to do? I've not written a project before, this is so intense. But I went back to that book and I was like, excuse me, I did my seminar defense and it was perfect, so of course I'm going to get this perfectly. I'm currently in my chapter 3. Like, I'm so surprised, like, when I think about how fast I went with it. But I did my chapter 1, I did my chapter 2, and it was really, really, I was like, first of all, why was I even scared? Insecurity is a master of selective filtering. It ignores your win and then it highlights your losses. But you have to manually override this by keeping an evidence log. Every morning, every afternoon, every night, whatever time is convenient for you, I want you to have a book where you write down 3 objective facts about your day that contradict your insecurity. So let's say one of your insecurities is like, you know what, I'm not pretty, guys don't even like me, no guys want to approach me. And maybe a particular day a guy approached you. I want you to write that down because that contradicts your insecurity of you being attractive, because hello, that guy spoke to you, so that means that's got to be something, you know what I'm saying? So write it down. It will contradict your insecurity, and this will really, really help to destructure your insecurity loop. And so now we've looked at the different ways by which we can destructure our insecurity loop, which would set the foundation for building our self-love. So let's look at the mechanics of building self-love. Listen, before we go into that, I just want you to know that self-love is a verb. It's not a state of mind you suddenly attain. It's built through small, consistent processes and consistency of. And I've not gotten to the end of it right now, because there's no end to you loving yourself. That is just how self-love is. It takes time, it grows from this level to this level to this level. The fun part of it is that while you are still growing, even while you are still in the process, it brings you joy knowing that you are no longer where you were some few days ago. It brings you joy when you know that you are no longer where you were yesterday. You've changed, you've evolved, you're now seeing the situation from a different part, and that is so beautiful. So the first mechanics of building self-love is reparenting. Listen, I want you to imagine this, okay? There's this woman, her name is Mommy Biscuit. She gave birth to this baby called Bread. And then whenever Bread cried, she would run up to Bread bedroom and she'd pick Bread, feed Bread, cuddle Bread. So she would always sing songs to Bread, and she was doing everything possible to make Bread happy. That is what I want you to do to yourself. You feel that as adults we just need to grind and grind and grind and grind and work. And honestly, I can't even blame you, because the economy from 10-20 years ago is different from what the economy is now. The economy now is merciless and it's so hectic, but we spend time being adults, we spend time hustling, we spend time grinding, that we forget those things that made us happy back as kids, that we even forget our joy. We no longer prioritize our joy. And this is what I want you to do to really build self-love, and this is what I've been doing. Listen, December last year, I was in my bedroom, I was having my reflection, I was thinking about how the year went, what I should do this new year. Like, basically I was trying to reset, and I was thinking, what is one thing that I loved doing when I was a baby that I want to start doing now? And it was languages. You guys, I love languages. First of all, my dad is from the southern part of Nigeria, my mom is from the eastern part of Nigeria, so we are basically not from the western part of Nigeria like the Yorubas, but I speak Yoruba fluently. I understand Yoruba. I had this neighbor for a few years. They were Efik, like they were from Akwa Ibom. At evenings, I would go to their house, sit with them, chill with them, and they would speak their Efik. And just gradually, I was speaking what they were saying, and I was able to understand Efik in less than a year of me staying with them. That is how language interests me. Even also back then, if I was in like a midst of people speaking Yoruba, they'll be like, "Are you a Yoruba girl?" No. Is your mom Yoruba? No. Is your dad Yoruba? No. But how come you can speak Yoruba? I'll say it's the concept of language. A word in Yoruba is mofe jeun, that is I want to eat. It's like mo doesn't even sound like something that you would want to say. Fe, je, it sounds odd, but combining these different sounds together creates just one word. That's what fascinates me about language. And so even while I was 6 years old, I was able to speak Yoruba. I was 8 years old with these neighbors of mine, and they would speak Efik, and I was able to understand it in less than a year. And so I was like, okay, this year I'm going to go into that zone of me learning languages. So at the moment, I'm currently learning different languages. What language am I learning? Yeah, listen, I watched La Casa de Papel, that is Money Ace, some few years ago, and there was this word that drove me crazy. It's por favor. Por favor is please in Spanish. And because of that, I was like, okay, this year I'm going to learn Spanish. So I'm currently learning Spanish, and I'm learning some other languages too. The second language I'm also learning now is Korean. I started watching K-drama when I was like, was it 12? Yeah, I remember my first K-drama then was She Was Pretty. It was very funny drama. So I was like, okay, I'm going to learn Korean. What other language again am I interested in? Well, I like Tagalog. I started watching Filipino dramas when I was like, is it 8 or 9 years old? So, and Tagalog is really easy for me to understand. I watched a couple of Filipino dramas, and just from one word I'm able to understand what they're saying or the concept of whatever thing they're discussing about. So that is how it's easy for me to understand language that is not English. And so I was like, of course I'm going to learn Spanish this year. Spanish, Korea, Tagalog. My first class of Spanish, I was so excited. I felt like that 3 years old, 6 years old, 8 years old Victoria that was interested in Yoruba and Efik. I felt like a baby because I was learning language, because I was doing something that interested me while I was a baby. And it has greatly improved my self-love, because when I learn one thing in Spanish and I see myself start speaking it, like I'm watching the Spanish drama and I'm understanding what they're saying little by little, I feel really happy with myself. So to really build your self-love, listen, I want you to go back to those things that got you excited while you were a baby. I want you to go back to those things that got you crazy. Also, when I was very young, I had this one classmate back then who came from a family that they would always tell us to go study, and so we were friends. So since she was always studying, then I started studying my books too because of her, and then I fell in love with reading. I would read my textbook from school, my English textbook, then those compression passage, like I'll write it in any paper I see in my house. And then my mom was able to understand my love for writing, and so then she'll buy me a lot of exercise books so I can write and write and write and write and write. And then she'll buy me storybooks back then, read them, and I'd write them in my book. And I was thinking, I was like, the only thing I've been reading constantly is my books for school, which of course is good, because if you don't read, girl, you're gonna get carried. But now, I'm reading everything. I'm buying books. Now I'm spending my money on buying books. Month I buy at least 2 books in a month, and I make sure that I read those 2 books. I read my school books. I'm having online courses that I'm taking. So now I'm basically doing those things that excites me when I was 6, 10, 12, and it's really, really beautiful, and that's really, really elevated my self-love. So the first thing I want you to know while building your real self-love is to prioritize your joy. Reparent yourself. Those things that you wanted to do while you were a kid but you were not able to do them now. Things that got you excited while you were a kid, do them now. Prioritize your joy, because I know the world has gotten to the stage where you have to just hustle, and you have to grind and grind and grind, and so you even forget to prioritize your joy. No, we are not doing this year. You want to love yourself, you want to get rid of your insecurity, and so you need to do things that get you excited, because when you do them, they elevate your self-love, they elevate your self-confidence, make you feel more comfortable with yourself, thereby taking you to a zone where nobody can bring you down, to a zone where you are now a member of your own team. So reparent yourself and prioritize your joy. The second mechanics to building real self-love is the small promises rule. Listen, the fastest way to lose your self-love is to break promises to yourself, because when you break promises to yourself, you are teaching your brain your words do not count, and that's not what we want to do. So every day I want you to make one tiny promise a day and ensure you stick by it, ensure you do it, ensure you carry out that task. And this has been what has been helping me in my self-love journey. I have this small book in my bedroom where I write my to-do list every day, and then I write a plus beside an habit that I know is actually productive. What I learned from this book, Atomic Habits by James Clear, like it taught something about you having a book where you write some things that you want to do in a day, and then you add a plus to whatever habit you want to do that is productive, and then a minus to whatever habit that you want to do that know deep down that is not productive. And because of the fact that I don't want to have my book and then I have a minus, I actually dropped some activities that will not benefit my productivity. Those kind of things that will not help my productivity, I don't include them, because I don't want a minus in my to-do list. When I tick off something that I did during the day that was on my to-do list, I feel like the best person on earth. And this has really improved my self-confidence, because when you are doing things you promised yourself, you get to trust yourself more, which is going to increase your self-confidence more, because you know that whatever thing you say, you are going to do it, thereby increasing or building your self-love. Don't make a promise that is going to be hard for you to keep. We don't want to ruin this self-love journey, so we have to do things that we can do, and we have to do things that would surely keep. This will train our brain that we are worthy to be loved, because we are always going to do everything we say and will definitely stick to our word. And now the next mechanic to building real self-love is the high standard boundaries. Listen, being your biggest lover means protecting your energy. So quit saying yes to people, or quit saying yes to things when all you want to do is to scream no. Raise your standard. It should be a boundary to the kind of things you consume, to the kind of people you interact with, to the kind of environment you stay, and you also want to cleanse what you consume, because if you want to love yourself and the content or the environment you find yourself are with people that don't even love themselves, they are full of insecurities, it is going to ruin your self-love. It is going to contaminate your journey, and that is what we don't want. Ensure that what you are consuming, it is actually benefiting, improving your self-love journey. And listen, I have a story to this. The first day I had my Korean class, I had to learn Hangul. Hangul is Korean letters, and believe me, that thing is crazy, because it's like line like it's on like Spanish, where of course if I want to spell like maybe like lo siento, which is I'm sorry, it will be LOISIENTO. It uses alphabet, but Korean letters don't use alphabet, they use just strokes, and all you are seeing is line and circle and line and then and dash. So it was very, very hard. I sat down there for like 30 minutes, nothing was coming. I was like, what the hell is this letters? It was frustrating, and I was like, okay, you know what? Because I had this plan to start, of course, I said in earlier to learn Spanish, Korean, Filipino. I decided that okay, I'm going to learn Spanish and Korea for like some months. Then like when I've got okay with Spanish and Korea, then I'll now include Filipino so that I won't get overwhelmed. So while I was struggling with that angle, I was like, you know what? Let me drop angle. Like I would include Tagalog, and moreover, I have this basic knowledge of Tagalog. So okay, no problem. I'll drop Korea. Yes, it's hard. Let me just drop Korea. So I dropped it, and I was like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to start Tagalog. I went up to my bedroom. Okay, I picked up my phone. I was scrolling on YouTube, and then I saw like the first video I saw was this video on YouTube. The title was "How I Learned 6 Languages Before 21." I was like, okay, wait, God, is this a sign? Okay, at first I didn't even want to click on the video. I've seen countless videos on YouTube, people saying how they speak 5 billion languages before they were 2 years old, and then I clicked the video, and all you are doing in the video is speaking English. You learned Mandarin, at least say a little bit of something in Mandarin. I clicked the video, and I think he only spoke English for like less than a minute. The video, I think, 15 minutes long, and for the entire 14 minutes he spoke in these 6 different languages. He spoke Greek, Spanish, Cantonese, I think Portuguese, and 2 other languages I can't really remember. At first I was like, oh wow, no, such a smart boy, so smart. When he got to 6 minutes, he was still studying. I was like, okay, opa daga. Because I was starting to feel bad. After I watched that video, I was like, you know what, get up. This Korean, you must learn it. I can remember clearly, I sat on my desk for 4 hours. I was learning angle, and I was like, this angle, I'm going to learn it. And when the day ended, I could recognize Korean vowels. I could read some basic things in Korea, and it took me just 1 day to get this basic understanding of angle. And I tell you, now I can read Korean. I cannot even believe it that I was able to overcome that stage. And it's so beautiful. And it took me just 1 day, 4 hours to sit on my desk, and I was grounded on it. But if I was doing the kind of thing, or the way I've trained my YouTube algorithm was to give me videos of people life, coming to say things about their insecurities, I would continue scrolling, and then the 4 hours that was spent on me learning angle would have been wasted improving my insecurity. So this is why you need to cleanse what you consume. If you want to engage in an act that would actually improve your self-love, you need to follow content, you need to watch content that would increase your hunger for that activity. Because when it increases your hunger for that activity, you would want to go engage in that activity, thereby increasing your love for yourself, because you are doing what you want, you are prioritizing your job. So have high standard boundaries and cleanse what you consume if you really want to build real self-love. Now, the next mechanics to build real self-love is radical self-acceptance. Listen, self-love isn't thinking that you are perfect. It is still accepting yourself even when you know you are not. Self-love is when you stare at the mirror, you acknowledge a flaw, and you are like, okay, I'm still on my own team. And listen, I'm sorry for what I'm about to say, but the month of March is the month that I don't like. The month of March is like my worst month in the year. I don't like the month of March. And if you were born in the month of March, I'm sorry, I love you, happy belated birthday, but the month of March is very hot in Nigeria. Kind of heat that makes it hard for you to think, to concentrate. I don't like the month of March, and I've had 2 traumatic experiences in the month of March due to how hot the temperature is in Nigeria and due to how the atmosphere is. Last year March, I had this exam, and due to the fact that of course it was hot, and when I'm having exams, you guys, I'm always crazy. Like, I'm always reading through the day, through the night. I don't even have time for my phone. I don't even have time to film YouTube videos. I don't even have time to do anything, because my department is a very, very, very hectic department. Like, you have to study. And so due to this heat, I had the craziest rashes in my entire life. My face was filled with rashes because of how hot the temperature was, and it wasn't a good experience for me, I tell you. Now, this month of March again, I'm dealing with hyperpigmentation. Like, I've never had this much hyperpigmentation before, but now I have something like it, and it's crazy because what the hell? So I don't like the month of March. But you know what? Self-love is me acknowledging my hyperpigmentation. I'm like, all right, I got hyperpigmented, so I need to pay more attention to my skin. I need to stop picking my skin. I need to take care of my skin more. But it's no problem. I'm still on my own team. That is self-love. Self-love is when you see a flaw, acknowledge your flaw, and you are still on your own team. But the Victoria of 4 years ago, 3 years ago would definitely be like, you stupid, hyperpigmented, ugly, unattractive. I would say those kind of awful words to myself. But now, I saw my upper pigmentation, I'm like, oh, this thing is really, really extreme. Okay, what do I need to buy? What do I need to do? But it's all right. Okay, I would still film my YouTube videos. I would still go to school. I would still walk around the streets, confident and happy and proud of myself. You know, that is self-love. That is one way to build real self-love. Being in that room of insecurities, it is so draining because I've been in that room. It is so hot, the way March is hot in Nigeria. The room of insecurity is so hot, it's so uncomfortable, it's so disgusting, it's so irritating, it makes you go crazy, and I don't want you to be in that room forever. So please get out from that room of insecurity and just explore. We've only got this one life, so you want to spend this life of yours hating yourself and feeling like you are the worst person on earth. If you feel like the people you are seeing are making you feel bad, you'll see more people and they might even want to make you feel bad, but you need to own your power and not let people control your mood and how you feel and also how you think. Get out from the room of insecurity, love yourself, cleanse what you consume, reparent yourself, prioritize your joy, do what you want, and just be happy. You've got this one life, and I want you to spend this one life very, very well. So thank you for watching up to this moment. If you did, thank you so much. I feel like this video was like the longest video I've ever made. It took me 2 different days to film this video completely. That's to tell you how long it was. My phone storage was giving me issues, so I had to stop the first day, transfer everything to my laptop, and then film the second part that I'm filming today. But anyways, if you did watch this moment, thank you so very much. I'm honestly so grateful, and I feel like I was really, really boastful in this video because yeah, I know the languages. Like and subscribe if you want us to be besties, okay? Be better, and I'ma see y'all in the next video.
This day that God is giving me, I'm not gonna waste this joy deep down inside me. I'm not gonna shake, been stressed for so long.